Coming up, he's a writer, comedian, and film director. We're catching up with the Joey Clift. Plus, we're taking a look at how the Northern Arapaho Tribal Nation is battling vaccine mandates for its employees. I'm Malia Chavez. Join us for those interviews, plus headlines from Indian country today.
The Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication at Arizona State University is honored to be a supporter of Indian Country Today. ASU offers the only online undergraduate digital media literacy degree, teaching students how to recognize and combat inaccuracies on all platforms. They are using cutting-edge tools and tactics to separate fact from fiction in a digital world overloaded with misinformation. Learn more at cronkite.asu.edu.
This is Indian Country Today.
Kuwatsi Hopa. Thank you for joining us. I'm Malia Chavez. For the first time in U.S. history, a Native person will head the National Park Service. Chuck Sams III was confirmed as the director of the National Park Service on Friday. The U.S. Senate voted unanimously to confirm him to the post. Sams has 25 years of experience in tribal and state conservation and land management. He is also a Navy veteran. Sams is the first confirmed director since January 2017. During the 4 years of the Trump administration, the Park Service was led by acting directors. The National Park Service employs 22,000 people and generates more than $40 billion for the U.S. economy. The word squaw will soon be removed from usage in the federal government. Interior Secretary Deb Haaland declared an end to the use of the S-word on Friday. The word is a racist and sexual slur usually aimed at Indigenous women. The secretary ordered all federal geographic features bearing the S-word to be renamed. This includes sites like national parks and wildlife refuges, as well as language used in policy. A task force has been created to start the process of renaming these sites. Currently, a database maintained by the Interior Department shows there are more than 650 federal sites with names that contain the S-word. On Friday, the Native American Rights Fund applauded the move, saying action by the federal government is long overdue. Haaland also announced she will create an advisory committee to review other derogatory place names. In 1962, then Interior Secretary Stuart Udall identified the N-word as derogatory and eliminated its use. A similar change was made in 1974 for a derogatory word used to describe Japanese people. Peru's justice system is being questioned in a forced sterilization case against Indigenous women. Last week, Indigenous Peruvian women denounced obstructions to the trial that is currently underway. They point to the sudden change of judges and prosecutors who shelved investigations of former President Alberto Fujimori.
And now we have this terrible news that they are going to change the judge who was 3 years in the investigation to put in a new one. A judge who is not even going to know about the case and will surely ask for more time to study the cases again. This is outrageous. As I said to my colleagues, it is a lack of respect for women.
Fujimori has been implicated in the deaths of 5 women and the injuries of another 1,500 women who were allegedly sterilized against their will. A new partnership brought free mammograms to Navajo women over the weekend. Alpha Kappa Alpha is the nation's first intercollegiate sorority for Black women. While its mission is to bring awareness to health issues affecting Black women, it partnered with the Navajo Nation, saying women of color need to be regularly screened because early detection saves lives. Alpha Kappa Alpha drove its 3D mobile mammogram unit to Chinle, Arizona for the two-day event. The sorority's leadership said this event was important to host because breast cancer is the most commonly diagnosed cancer among Navajo women. They said in a statement, "As women of color, we support our Native American sisters in their quest to live healthier and more productive lives." Alpha Kappa Alpha launched its mobile mammogram unit in 2018 and has visited 28 cities across the country. In honor of Native American Heritage Month, the cast and crew of Rutherford Falls has created a guide of recommendations of their favorite Native artists. The guide discusses the impact of the series and what fans can expect from the new season. The show is about two lifelong best friends featuring Ed Helms and Jana Schmieding, who find themselves at a crossroads when their sleepy town gets an unexpected wake-up call. The cast for this season features two new recurring characters that are played by Dallas Goldtooth and Kuniitau O'Horn. Season 2 will premiere in the spring of next year. And those are the headlines for Indian Country Today. I'm Aaliyah Chavez. Coming up, how are Northern Arapaho vaccine mandates affecting its tribal workers? Savannah Marr tells us more. But first, Cowlitz citizen Joey Clift tells us about his latest projects. Joey Clift, welcome to Phoenix.
Thanks so much for having me. It's so exciting to be in the Indian Country Today studio. Big fan of the broadcast, and it's great to be here.
It's been a few months since you've been on our show. Tell us what you've been up to.
I've been clawing at the doors of the Indian Country Today studio, trying to get back on. Spending the past couple of months just being like, let me in. So finally, I picked the lock and got in.
You're here. You made it.
I'm here. I made it. Yeah, past couple of months, I'm still working on Spirit Rangers on Netflix. It's a really fun show coming out in 2022. I'm so excited about. And I just released an animated short with Comedy Central called How to Cope with Your Team Changing Its Native American Mascot. It's a comedy PSA about Native sports mascots that just came out fairly recently. And then I have a new short film that's going through the festival circuit called My First Native American Boyfriend that is getting into a lot of festivals and I'm really excited about. And other than that, just, I don't know, watching a lot of pro wrestling, looking at pictures of cats.
I want to actually talk about Spirit Rangers. For our viewers who have maybe never heard of it or don't know what it is, tell us more about it.
So Spirit Rangers is a fantasy adventure series about a Native family that works in and around a fictional national park in Chumash territory, Southern California. And it was created by the genius Chumash TV writer Carissa Valencia, executive produced by Chris Nee, who created Doc McStuffins and a ton of other shows. And it's such a fun experience. It's the first ever animated series in the history of US animation created by a Native person with an all-Native writer's room, Native actors, Native characters. And it's just a really special show that I'm so excited to be working on for Netflix, and I can't wait for the world to see it.
Oh, I'm very excited. I know that the world of Native cartoon characters has been on the rise, of course, with examples like Spirit Rangers and Molly of Denali, which all of my nieces and nephews love to watch. So hopefully they can add that to their list of cartoon characters that reflect who they are.
Yeah, it is wild that it's taken this long to get good Native cartoon characters on TV, but I don't know, like, I definitely like to think that we're, with all this stuff, kind of standing on the shoulders of giants. Molly Denali's such a great show. All of the writers on that show are so nice, and they're doing such great work. And, like, I definitely hope that Spirit Rangers can be, like, another show that hits that high bar of, the quality of shows like that.
And what is your role on Spirit Rangers exactly?
I'm a staff writer / consulting producer, so I pitch episode ideas, write episodes. I also, give notes on, various aspects of the production. The Sky Cedar family, which is the family that the show is based around, they're half Shumash and half Cowlitz. The mom is Shumash and the dad is Cowlitz. Cowlitz is my tribe. So a lot of my consulting producer duties involve with, making sure that the Cowlitz representation is good and, doing what I can to make sure that all that's, super cool and something that, we're all going to be excited about. And it's, I would say that other than that, it's a lot of reaching into kind of Indian country Rolodexes and thinking about, good people that would be good fits for different positions. And, I would say just like helping, like a lot of the show, because it's the first TV show for the kids' animated space by natives, written by natives, et cetera. We have a lot of conversations in the room about, like what we kind of want to say about the native experience. And I feel like a lot of my role as a consulting producer is just to, have those conversations and it's such a great experience.
Yeah, and so needed. I mean, you brought this up earlier, but it's taken such a long time for TV shows like this to happen. But it sounds like hearing you talk, you also want to make sure that it's done right.
Yeah, it's something that the show's creator and showrunner, Chris Valencia, talks about a lot. Is it's we want to create the show that we wish existed when we were growing up. And, I think that growing up, we definitely saw a lot of the, I would say, like, not great native representation on TV. And, we're doing everything that we can to create a show that we can be proud of and that we hope that, the next generation of, native kids and native adults and also non-native folks can, like, watch and appreciate as just, a good kids show that, like, does things kind of the right way, I would say.
And I think also what's even, I guess to add to a layer to that, what's also going to be fascinating is exactly seeing this generation growing up with shows like this and seeing how, when they get older, seeing how like they have these great examples. And I wonder if they'll feel kind of the same way that we did about the examples that they grew up with. Because I know a lot of the times when you kind of get older, you think back and say, oh, I really loved this show growing up, or, oh, I really, saw myself in this show. And now it seems like they have so many great examples.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, like, 2021 has been such a wild year as far as native representation goes. Shows like Reservation Dogs and Rutherford Falls. This is, a while back, but on Halloween, I was going to a Halloween party and I needed to throw together a costume last minute because that's how you do it. And I looked in my closet and saw that I had like a beat up flannel, like a backwards NTVS originals cap, and like a Reservation Dogs bandana. And I was like, oh, I could be Willie Jack from Reservation Dogs. So I wore that to the party. And while I was driving to the party, I realized, oh, it's so cool that like there are contemporary native characters on TV now that I can dress as, putting together a last minute costume for a Halloween party. And that's something that just, I feel, didn't exist up until literally this year. And yeah, that's something that like I hope continues. Like I saw a lot of people dressing up like Regan from Rutherford Falls for Halloween. That was really cool to see. And I definitely hope that, the Spirit Rangers characters are in the pantheon of, cool costumes that people can be proud of to dress as for Halloween.
Yeah, and that's such a good point. I feel like everyone has a Willie Jack outfit in their closets right now.
Oh yeah, it didn't take a lot of work. It was like a flannel that my mom mailed me. It was a backwards cap that I already own. It was the easiest costume to just throw together.
Yeah, I could imagine. I actually do want to talk about this boom in representation in this year specifically. I'm really curious. You've worked on a number of projects and you're very connected in the world of Native television writers and producers. What is it like behind the scenes? Is it like a close community, or how often do you all interact with one another?
It's an insanely close community. The way that I kind of think about it is, I feel like in kind of like broad Native Hollywood, there's probably like low hundreds of us. I don't necessarily know an exact number off the top of my head, but I like to think about it as we're all either friends or like 1 degree away from each other. And something that I really love about this kind of recent boom in Native stories is that in a lot of cases, we're sharing resources. Like there are, I believe Sierra Taylor-Ornelas, the co-creator of Rutherford Falls, has talked about this in interviews about her and Sterling Harjo from Reservation Dogs have had conversations about like, oh, which writers can we take for different shows so that we're not taking all the writers, which actors have we worked with that we like, which composers have we worked with that we like. And I think that for Spirit Rangers, it's definitely the same thing. Like we've had a lot of side conversations with other folks and other shows about like, different people to kind of fit different positions. And, I think that because we're all in such a similar spot, and I think Native representation in Hollywood done the right way is so new, we're all trying to help each other to create the best shows that we can. And we're all like cheerleaders for each other, like the day that Rutherford Falls came out and the day that Reservation Dogs came out in the Spirit Rangers writers' room, the first half hour of our morning meeting was just like, what did everybody think? Everybody liked it, And it's just so cool to see that we're all on the same team.
Yeah. And what is it like to recruit more Native people into that circle? Is that something that you do? And I guess what advice would you have for someone who wants to be in that field?
So I'm always excited to meet other Native folks working in the entertainment industry. Like I have a few projects kind of in the works that I can't talk about a ton, but I needed, specific, Native animators and designers for different projects. So I, kind of reached out to kind of my Native Hollywood web and was like, does anybody know like a Native color designer or something? And met some really great people. And I was just like, not just excited to talk to them about process and craft and, job stuff, but also just excited to talk to people about their upbringing and kind of what brought them to Hollywood. Because I feel like all of us have such different and interesting stories that brought us into this industry. And I would say for anybody that's interested in working in the entertainment industry, I think that this is like such a good time as a Native person to work in Hollywood, because I think we're fairly new as, I would say, an entity in Hollywood being given opportunities to create our own shows. And the shows are successes. Rutherford Falls and Reservation Dogs were big hits. And the way to think about it is, since Reservation Dogs was a big hit, now Hollywood is going to want 10 more Reservation Dogs because they see that it's a success and something that people want to see. And all of those other shows are going to need writers, actors, directors, producers, and et cetera. So, I think that this is a really great time if you're thinking about, working in the entertainment industry to, give it a try, open up Final Draft, write a script, make a short film, take acting classes, train to be a cinematographer or whatever, because this is just really like the time where we're looking to staff these shows and looking to, collaborate with other Native folks to tell these stories the right way.
I hate to close this conversation on such a big question, but I have to ask you, given all of the momentum that is happening in Hollywood right now, where do you ultimately hope that, you'll be? What kinds of projects do you want to work on? What do you think is next for you?
What do I think is next for me? I guess that it's tough for me to necessarily forecast out, dream projects and stuff like that, because the entertainment industry it's a freelance-based industry where you don't necessarily know where your next gig is going to be. But I can say that working on Native projects with other Natives brings me just so much joy. It's like a level of fulfillment that I don't think I've ever experienced in my career, and maybe even life before this. So, whatever the future holds for me, whatever projects I'm working on, 1 to 5 years down the line, I hope that there are a ton of natives that I'm doing it with.
Well, we'll
'Cause it's so fun.
manifest.
Yeah,
We'll
manifesting.
Yes. Joey Clift, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This was fun.
President Joe Biden has mandated that employees of companies with 100 or more workers must be vaccinated against COVID-19, and tribal nations are battling their own guidelines. The Wind River Reservation is in Wyoming, which is a state that does not have a vaccine mandate, but the Northern Arapaho tribe does. The tribal nation adopted a vaccine mandate earlier this year, meaning that all tribal employees must be vaccinated against COVID-19. Savannah Marr is a reporter at Marketplace, and her latest story is titled, How Employer Vaccine Mandates Are Playing Out in One Tribal Community. She joins us now to tell us more. Hi, Savannah.
Hi, Leah. Thank you for having me.
So set the stage for us. What's going on the Wind River Reservation?
Sure. So as you mentioned, the Wind River Reservation is located in central Wyoming, and Wyoming is a state that has taken a pretty lax approach to the pandemic since the start. And the two tribes, the Eastern Shoshone and the Northern Arapaho tribes that share the Wind River Reservation, have taken a very different approach. And the latest manifestation of that is this vaccination mandate. The two tribes jointly decided to mandate that all people who work with children on the reservation need to be vaccinated against COVID-19. And the Arapaho Council went a step further and said that all of their employees, which is just under 1,000 people in this small county in the middle of Wyoming, need to get the shot.
Tell us about some of the sources that you interviewed for this story.
Sure. Well, I spoke with a couple of employees at the Shoshone and Arapaho Head Start preschool on the reservation, which is one of the businesses that is impacted by this mandate. I spoke with one employee named Holly Perry, who chose to leave her job rather than get the vaccine. And I spoke with another employee who opted to get the shot rather than lose her job, but who ultimately decided to leave because when she she left work and opted to get the vaccine in part to keep her job and also to make sure that she could access COVID leave when her daughter when her daughter was exposed to COVID-19. And when she returned to work, so many employees had left over the mandate that her workload, she said, had doubled, but her pay did not double. So she opted to quit her job in order to go back to school to be able to get a better paying job. So those are some of the employees that I spoke to. I also spoke with the chairman of the Northern Arapaho tribe about why they chose to put this mandate in place and why they feel it's worth losing a couple of employees.
And the chairman, of course, is Jordan Dresser. Tell us, what did he have to say?
Yeah, Chairman Dresser said that this was just the latest choice by the Northern Arapaho Business Council to prioritize the health of tribal citizens over, economic interests during the pandemic. He told me that there haven't been a lot of employees that have left over the vaccine mandate. Actually, a lot a lot of unvaccinated folks have opted to get the shot to comply with the mandate, which was the intention of the mandate. So the council is very pleased with that outcome. But Chairman Dresser did say that in this very tight labor market, even losing a handful of employees at a child care center or the tribal casino or at the medical clinic, it can be really difficult to replace those employees, especially in a place like Fremont County, Wyoming, where the vaccination rate on the reservation is quite high. It's above 70%, but in the surrounding communities, it's much lower. The state of Wyoming has one of the lowest vaccination rates in the country. So, this is a choice that the tribe has made. It's made them a less attractive employer, perhaps, but it's one that they feel is worth protecting the health of their people.
And that's a great segue into my next question, which is, do you think that the tribe is at all worried about losing employees due to the vaccine mandate, or what does that picture look like?
Yeah, well, Chairman Dresser and I did talk about this, the economic cost here. The Northern Arapaho tribe is among the largest employers of Native and non-Native people in this county. And it is, a concern to be losing any employees. And as I said, this very tight labor market where it's difficult to replace people. But it's a decision that the council made, knowing that they were probably going to lose some of their employees and that they feel was worth it. And, this is just the latest example we've seen of this council making this sort of a choice where they're prioritizing public health over economic interests. Like, when I was reporting on Wind River at the very early days of the pandemic, when it was really difficult to get a COVID test in Wyoming, the Northern Arapaho tribe was testing anybody who needed one. They made this huge investment in private testing. You didn't need to be symptomatic. You didn't need to have been exposed. So it's just another example of, those, prioritizing public health.
Sure. Savannah Marr, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Leah.
And that's a slice of our Indigenous world. Thank you for watching. For all the latest news and updates, visit us anytime at IndianCountryToday.com. I'm Aaliyah Chavez.
Sometimes you got to take a stand just because you know you can. Oh, you got to run, you got to run.
This is Indian Country Today.